Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. At UFC Vegas 81, Sodiq Yusuff versus Edson Barboza. We saw some horrific performances, and I'm going to give you my opinion on who deserves to be cut after their performance on this fight card. I'm going to start with some honorable mentions, then I'm going to get into my actual list, saving last on the list for who most deserves to be cut from the organization. And there's going to be some shockers on this list and some fighters that you don't agree with. Starting off with my first honorable mention. And to be fair, this isn't really a cut. This is more of a please retire. And that is Edson Barboza. Edson Barboza is going on 38 years old. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. And he gets a gutsy performance win against Sodiq Yusuff in the main event, where he took a lot of damage. But if you look over the history of the last couple years for Edson Barboza, it's just the UFC trying to build up-and-coming names off the name of Edson Barboza. Sodiq Yusuff, Billy Q, a fight with Ilia Topuria that Barboza pulled out of with an injury, a fight against Bryce Mitchell where he lost, a fight against Giga Chikadze where he got finished. I understand it's the name of the game, but Edson Barboza, ride off into the sunset while you can. You're almost 38 years old. You're on a 2-fight winning streak. A lot of people didn't expect you to beat Sodiq Yusuff. You got it done. You had a gutsy performance. You somehow survived that first round. Ride off into the sunset. I know easier said than done. He's got to go find a different career. But I love Edson Barboza. He's had a career where he's fought the who's who of both the featherweight and the lightweight division. I mean, he's fought Khabib Nurmagomedov, Paul Felder, Justin Gaethje, just to name a few. I don't want to see him go on this long losing streak where he's getting beat up by contenders and the UFC keeps him around for like a 4-fight losing streak and he moves up in the division in his next fight and gets slaughtered by somebody, an up-and-comer. I don't want to see that. I want to see Edson Barboza ride off into the sunset on a win streak. You don't get very many happy endings in MMA. That's why I would love to see Edson Barboza retire after this win over Sodiq Yusuff. Moving up on my list to the next honorable mention, and this is another winner from this card, and that is Christian Rodriguez. Christian Rodriguez got a win over Cameron Simon on the main card. It was a clean win, clear win. He missed weight by 4 pounds. He's supposed to weigh in at bantamweight, 135 pounds, which was 136 pounds with the 1 pound allowance. He weighs in at 140. This is the third time he's missed weight if you include Dana White's Contender Series. He missed weight against Raul Rosas Jr. as well. You know, he needs to go up to featherweight. He's an honorable mention. He almost made the list, but he's an honorable mention. He needs to go up to featherweight. If he doesn't want to go up to featherweight, cut him. If he misses weight at featherweight, I want him pulled from the card and cut immediately. I don't care if he misses by 0.2 of a pound. Christian Rodriguez has now derailed 2 up-and-coming prospects, and in the meantime, he's been missing weight. So it really hasn't been completely fair to those prospects. So Christian Rodriguez really needs to get it together. If you continue to miss weight, I don't know how he's missing weight so many times. He missed weight, Dana White's Contender Series, missed weight against Raul Rosas Jr., missed weight against Cameron Simon, and it dampens all these wins. They don't really matter because no matter what, you're going to be like, oh, well, you missed weight, so you had an advantage over your opponent. So it's just Christian Rodriguez needs to get it together, needs to actually make weight. Otherwise, if he misses weight in his next fight, regardless of what division is, I don't care if he goes up to 170. If he misses weight, he needs to be cut immediately after his next fight or before his next fight because he shouldn't even be allowed to fight if he misses weight. Moving on to my actual list, first up is an obvious choice, but honestly, it should have been higher on the list, to be quite honest, and that is Ashley Yoder. Her overall record is 8-9. That is her pro record. She has a losing record overall. And she got absolutely murked by Emily Ducote. She somehow survived, but she got butchered badly. I mean, that second and third round, she got slaughtered. She was cut up badly. She's on a 3-fight losing streak. She lost to Jinh Yu Frey. She lost to Angela Hill. Now lost to Emily Ducote. Her last win was back in 2020 against Miranda Granger. Ashley Yoder is 35 years old on a 3-fight losing streak, fighting the bottom of the barrel of women's MMA. What's the point? What's the point anymore? She doesn't belong in the UFC. She doesn't have the skills to be in the UFC. Like, she was losing on the feet and she had no will or fight IQ to attempt to change the way the fight was going, not look for a takedown, not make an adjustment, not start throwing something different on the feet. She doesn't belong in the UFC. 3 straight losses, 8-9 overall record. That's crazy. Hasn't won a fight in 3 years. Ashley Yoder needs to be cut from the organization immediately. Horrible bottom of the barrel fighter. Moving up on my list, we have Irina Alekseeva. Irina Alekseeva loses to Melissa Dixon. And honestly, I know Alekseeva is kind of a fun fighter. She's kind of a little bit weird and she does weird stuff in the cage and she just acts weird overall. And the way she fights pretty exciting. She like rushes forward, but She loses to Melissa Dixon. She wins the first round because she dropped Melissa Dixon with a power shot. She has good power. Outside of that, I don't know what else is good. Her defensive grappling isn't good. She got taken down and controlled in the second and third round. She has no fight IQ. She's constantly looking for head and arm throws, and then she just gives up her back over and over and over again. I think she did it 3 times in this fight, if not more. Her striking is horrific. Melissa Dixon's known for her grappling for the most part, who's 5-0. 5-0, that's how much experience Melissa Dixon has. Not that Alexeva doesn't have, basically as little experience as well, 5-2. But doesn't really have striking herself, and she was easily outstriking Alexeva. Alexeva had that one big power shot in the first round that essentially won her the round because she dropped Melissa Dixon. But outside of that, she was just getting outstruck. So I don't know. Like, Alexeva's not even good. She's not good. She has power. That's it. She has no technical ability. She has no fundamentals. She just rushes forward with her chin in the air. She's got a quote from the UFC Apex on her car, like a quote from an interview with Daniel Cormier. She got a picture from the Apex on her car, which is just not normal at all. And, that's just a side note on that. But horrible fighter, absolutely atrocious fighter. I know people are going to say she's only on a 1-fight losing streak. I don't care. She beat Stephanie Egger. You want credit for that? No. Get rid of Irina Alexeva. Moving up on my list, next up we have Brandon Moreau. I feel bad for Brandon Moreau. He got absolutely starched by Terrence McKinney badly. Brutal knee, lands immediately. He was basically done from there. I almost put him as an honorable mention because, he took it on short notice against Terrence McKinney. I feel bad for him for that respect. He just took it on short notice. So maybe give him one more opportunity, but I don't think he's cut out. Terrence McKinney was on the verge of getting cut 2 fights ago himself. I think he might even been on a cuts list, matter of fact. And now Terrence McKinney's on a 2-fight winning streak, beating guys like, Brendan Moreau. But Brendan Moreau didn't even land a shot. Give him maybe one more chance just because of the short notice fight. He probably will, actually. But he doesn't belong. He doesn't belong at all. He's been kind of inactive. The last guy he fought was 11-20 overall record. 11-20 overall record. Now, he's still young. He's only 26 years old. He can get better, of course. But after seeing a fight where he doesn't even land one shot, I don't know. I could have went in there and put on that performance. I could have literally went in and put on that performance. Brandon Moreau, it's time to cut him from the organization. I get it. He's on short notice, but he doesn't belong in the UFC. Moving up on the list, and honestly, I was kind of debating about where to put this on the list, but we need to cut whoever made the UFC's bout order for this card. What was going on with the co-main event? Viviane Araújo versus Jennifer Maia as the co-main event? Who thought of that? You have Jonathan Martinez versus Adrian Yanez. You have Michelle Pereira versus Andre Petrosky. You have Christian Rodriguez versus Cameron Simon. All those are more suitable co-main events. Why are you putting Viviane Araújo versus Jennifer Maia as a co-main event? Garbage fight on paper, and it turned out to be a garbage fight in real life. Oh, surprise. Surprise, surprise. They're not the worst fighters ever. I'm not cutting either one of them, even though maybe I could, honestly. I could get a little bit crazier and probably cut both of them. But co-main event? Co-main event? That should be like opening up the prelims almost. That should really be down. That should have been like after Terrence McKinney or something. I don't understand why they put it as a co-main event. Maybe they want to inspire. They're like, oh, we got to have a women's MMA fight in the co-main event. And then maybe for whatever reason, they thought to do that. I don't know. But whoever made the bout order for this card needs to be fired by the UFC immediately. Moving up on the list, and this is kind of a shocker cut that nobody's going to see coming because they really didn't necessarily have anything to do with UFC Vegas 81. But I wanted to put them on this list because it's really been a big news story over the past couple days, and that is whoever wrote the script for Jeff Nowitzki and Hunter Campbell at their USADA press conference. Whoever wrote that script needs to be cut immediately. You have Jeff Nowitzki crying and whining about USADA and looking down at his script and saying, I will never be associated with a program that's not the gold or platinum standard, and talking about the guy they hired, George Piro, and talking about, yeah, we're hiring George Piro. He was the only point of contact for Saddam Hussein. Like, how is that credentials to be the head of a drug testing, independent drug testing program? I don't understand how those two things correlate. Because he can do an interrogation. Is he going to waterboard people for drug test results? Is he going to start whipping out jumper cables? What does that even mean? Who wrote that script? I need to know who wrote that script. And then Hunter Campbell, he didn't have a necessary script there, but I'm sure he had some pre-scripted lines talking about The way they did Conor McGregor was so disgusting, like acting like they hurt Conor McGregor's credibility. He's basically a known cokehead, a known alcoholic who cheats on his wife in the NBA Finals bathroom, maybe even non-consensually. And, I mean, seriously, you really think USADA's statement hurt Conor McGregor's overall, character standing with the MMA community? What a joke Hunter Campbell is. So whoever wrote those scripts, whoever wrote those pre-written lines where you have Jeff Nowitzki acting like he's emotional but really staring down at a script someone else wrote for him, fire that person, because I don't think that USADA press conference could have went worse. I did an entire breakdown of that press conference. It's literally almost an hour long. I'll link it down in the description if you want to check it out. But fire whoever wrote that script. That happened earlier this week. I think that was Thursday or Friday. So I figured, you know what? I'm throwing that person on the cuts list as well. Embarrassing press conference by the UFC. Moving up on my list, my second to last cut we have on the list. And honestly, this person almost made number one. And that is Ravina Oliveira. She lost to Tanara Lisboa. She's a garbage can. She's a literal garbage can. She's 7-2-1 overall. She's only 26 years old, so she's still young. She looked horrible. She had nothing to offer in this fight. She won the third round just by grappling and doing absolutely nothing, but no striking, no grappling defense in the first two rounds. You look at her recent resume. She's a winner of a girl who's 8-5 before the UFC. Before that, she beat a girl who's 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 1-1, 0-1, 0-0, 0-0, and 0-1. That's the records of all her most recent opponents. Every single opponent she's fought. How did she make it into the UFC? Lisboa's not even good. Lisboa's not even good. And Ravina Oliveira is basically getting dominated. I know she won the third round, but she didn't do any damage. The only thing, Lisboa just couldn't get up off her back. So honestly, she should be cut too. Throw her in the list while you're at it. She does not belong in the UFC. She does not. I don't know if some weirdo who's signing fighters was like simping for her or something, but whose idea was this? Whose idea was to put her on the roster? I mean, talk about bottom of the barrel. I know the women's bantamweight division is straight up garbage. I know it's straight up garbage. But how do we end up at a point where we're ending up with Ravina Oliveira on the UFC roster? And this is why I make these videos. Because the barrier of entry into the UFC has gotten lower and lower and lower and lower over the past 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, this would have never existed 5, 6 years ago. This is embarrassing in terms of skill level. They might as well pick someone off the street. They might as well just pick someone off the street and said, hey, you want to fight? You want to make $12,000? Because it's only, you get 12 and 12, but the second 12 is only if you win. So you're not going to win. You want to come in? Did they pick her off the Las Vegas Strip? Is that what they did? Hey, you look like you're in pretty good shape. You want to fight? You want to fight at the UFC Apex? Ravina Oliveira needs to be cut from the organization. I don't want to see her get another fight whatsoever in no way, shape, or form. Moving on to my last cut. And it seems like a common theme. And I knew, after I really started thinking about my cuts list, I said, oh, I know who's number one. The number one cut isn't necessarily a UFC employee, but still we're going to throw him as the number one cut. And that is UFC judge. And what I mean by UFC judge, I mean really Nevada State Athletic Commission judge. But obviously they work for the UFC indirectly. Chris Lee. Chris Lee. He's offered up a bunch of garbage scorecards in the past. Paddy Pimblett, just to name one, where he scored it for Paddy Pimblett over Jarrett Gordon. But that was a unanimous decision, so all those judges were horrific. Chris Lee somehow scored round one a 10-9. A 10-9 for Sodiq Yusuff. Did they not just have a 10-8 seminar recently because of Grasso versus Shevchenko, because of Mike Bell giving a 10-8 round in a round that was razor close and could have went either way? Did they not just have a 10-8 seminar? Was Chris Lee there? Can anybody confirm to me whether or not Chris Lee was there? Where's Mike Bell? When I'm asking, where's Mike Bell when you need him? We have a big issue. If I'm asking for Mike Bell to be judging a fight, we have a massive issue. Chris Lee, he's been on multiple wonky scorecards over the years. Just get rid of him. These guys are affecting fighters' careers. They're affecting fighters' careers. And in this case, it didn't necessarily matter. It didn't necessarily matter because they scored it for Edson Barboza regardless if that was a 10-8 or not. I believe the other two judges had it 10-8 for Sodiq Yusuff. So it didn't really affect the outcome. But I don't care. I'm tired of us not criticizing judges enough when they get the right outcome, but they have the wrong scorecard. Like, if there's a blatantly wrong round scored, there needs to be had a conversation about that scorecard. This is a horrific scorecard, an impossible scorecard, an indefensible scorecard. Chris Lee needs to be held accountable, and nobody's even going to care because, oh, well, Edson Barboza won anyway, and we thought he won anyway, which I thought Sodiq Yusuff should have got the nod or it should have been a draw, but either way, it doesn't really matter. I have no problem with Barboza winning, so I'm not like complaining, oh, well, if Sodiq Yusuff would have got the 10-8, he would have won. I don't think he would have won. He wouldn't have won if he got the 10-8. The scorecards didn't matter in this respect, but it doesn't matter. When you're blatantly scoring a round wrong, there should be some type of repercussions. And honestly, I really think the Chris Lee non-10-8 for round one is just as egregious, or maybe just a hair under as egregious as Mike Bell's 10-8 round for Grasso a couple weeks ago. Where are they getting these judges from? Do they take eye tests? Do they take drug tests? I really truly need to know that. Absolutely embarrassing scorecard from Chris Lee that didn't affect the fight, so no one's going to complain, no one's going to whine, but I'll be sure to complain about it because it's horrific, it's disgusting, and one of these days, Chris Lee, which we've already seen it multiple times, so just to add another one to the resume, Chris Lee, there's going to be a fight that we all care about, and Chris Lee messes something up like this and gives a round 10-9 when it should have been a 10-8, and it's going to cost someone's fighter not to win the fight, the rightful winner not to win the fight. So fire Chris Lee, cut Chris Lee, do whatever you want with him. I mean, honestly, I don't care. Do anything you want with Chris Lee. Get rid of him. I don't want. Tell him to go find a new job. Call Stipe Miocic. Maybe Chris Lee can answer calls at the fire department with Stipe Miocic. Disgusting scorecard from Chris Lee. Now, who do I think the UFC actually cuts? They're not going to do jack shit about Chris Lee. Ravina Oliveira, they're not going to do anything about her because this was her UFC debut, but maybe they might cut her. Nowitzki scriptwriter, I hope they're looking at the social media backlash, which I haven't been paying too close attention to, but I feel like most fans could see right through that bullshit. So maybe they fire the scriptwriter. Brendan Moreau, just because he's short notice, they're going to give him one more chance. Irina Alexeyeva, they're going to give her one more chance. Ashley Yoder, definitely getting cut. Christian Rodriguez, they may actually cut him, but I doubt it. They're going to tell him he has to go to featherweight. And Barboza, they're not going to force him to retire. They want to build someone else's name off him. So they may not even cut anyone on this list. But that is my official cuts list. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.